Hi, I'm Jennifer from Log Cabin Schoolhouse, bringing you a neat notebook so you can relax and enjoy math. It's fun, it can be easy, it doesn't have to be all problem solving. Keep an eye on the patterns, watch for the very interesting mathematicians that can help us to discover and define math. You're about to see that it can be quite a fun adventure, and the adventure can be different every time, or you can enjoy the sameness of math too, however your brain prefers it. Let's get started. So here we have OneNote that I like to use. You can use a grid notebook. Spiral bound is a good recommendation. You can use pens. Different colored pens are a good recommendation. You don't have to use pencils just because they're erasable. For some kids, I actually recommend pens because then you can't erase. I know one of my kids would spend endless amount of time erasing and erasing. You would get tired, writing fatigue just from doing all the erasing. And sometimes that's just not necessary. Let them cross out a mistake and keep moving. That's okay. They learn from their mistakes and move on. Even though we call it a neat notebook, they get better every day, and let them just learn from their mistakes. Use different colors. That's a lot of fun. We used to like getting glitter pens at the Five Below or the Dollar Tree. Anyway, so go ahead and get some fun tools for making neat notebooks. Sit down on the couch together, start a fire, and just enjoy your special time together doing math. Make it a special time. Get tea, have tea, make it tea time. Mom, make your coffee. Kids, get your special beverage. Do you like hot cocoa? My kids like Sprite, so maybe I get them their special beverage when we sit down together and do this. And make this subject fun. Too many times this becomes a chore, this subject, and I don't like that it becomes the one subject everyone dreads. It doesn't have to be that way. Let's learn to make this a really fun subject. All right. All right, so I'm going to open up a new page. So in OneNote notebook, I would click Add Page, and I'm going to type in addition algorithm. And on your notebook, I'm going to make it nice and big. I would click Draw, get my pen, and down the middle, you draw a line, make your 4 quadrants. The point of the neat notebook is to have a comparison contrast. Now, the last neat notebook we did was add, subtract, multiply, divide. This one is going to be a whole bunch of addition, and they're going to be algorithms. So let's look at that word, algorithm. Algorithm just means an order of steps. So if I have 4 different addition algorithms, this one's going to be called sum strips. It's just one way that I'm going to do it. This one's going to be equations. And in doing that one, I also want to always bring up the word expression. I want kids to know the difference between those 2 words. In the third one, we're going to talk about number. And in the fourth quadrant, we're going to talk about place value. And these are 4 different ways that we can look at addition. And algorithms are just the order of steps. So if you think about in the morning when you go brush your teeth, you might turn on the water, pick up your toothbrush, fill it with toothpaste, and then maybe you turn off the water, or maybe you leave the water on while you're filling your toothpaste, and then you brush your top teeth first, or do you brush the front of your teeth first? But everybody probably does it a little bit differently, and it is just literally the order of steps. And that would be, I want you to think about that when you brush your teeth in the morning. That is your algorithm for brushing your teeth. And it literally is just the order of steps that you take to brush your teeth. So we have sum strips. Now I'm going to use 2 different colors for this. And if I have 6 and and I have 3. I might have 6 blocks here. And I would just tell my kids, copy everything I do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 blocks, and then I'm going to have 3 blocks. 1, 2, 3. And if you have really little kids, maybe you also have manipulatives. Or better yet, you ask them, what favorite little thing do you like? Do you like jelly beans or M&Ms? And make sure you add that to the grocery list this week. And when you do, maybe you talk about some strips for every day the next week, and you group them up and you add things together and you talk about this algorithm. And just make sure you use all these words when you're playing with your jelly beans or your M&Ms while you're playing around with your food. Never play with your food, right? All right, so we have 6 plus 3 is 9. All right, well, that actually leads me right into the next quadrant. In the next quadrant, I have the word expression tells me 6 plus 3. That is an expression, and I would tell my kids, okay, well, what is the difference between an expression and an equation? And I teach them all the time that the difference is just listen to this word, equate. Okay, equal. I hear that word inside that bigger word. Oh, well, so expression is just this part. And in English, I think of the word clause. I was trying to work it back to English language because I think we moms really like humanities, and it helps us to teach it if we understand it that way. In English, an equation really is the whole sentence. And it includes the subject and the verb. And the verb is the equal sign in this case. So here, with an equation, I would have the whole sentence, 6 plus 3 equals 9. So that is an equation. 6 plus 3 is the expression, where 6 plus 3 equals 9 is the equation. So isn't that interesting? Now I can write my expression 6 plus 3. I can write it that way. Or I could write my equation 6 plus 3. This is an equal sign, and a 9 is the answer underneath it. I could write it that way as well. The other thing I might even do with little kids, going back to the colors I used before, I might even do, I had green for 6, 2, 3. I might use the same order of dots I have on a standard die. If you have dice, I might get them out and play with them. Or my jelly beans and my M&Ms. And I'm going to get black and then plus 6 plus 3 equals 9. And I could write it like that. So that's really awesome. And then I've also done something else by doing it this way, because I wrote it in 3s. So I want to just point out that if you've ever taught your kids to skip count, you've written it that way. And then I might even segue, since I'm sitting on the couch, drinking my coffee, hanging out with my kids, I might even get out YouTube and look up the 3's skip counting songs, and maybe we'd sing it together, and that would be fun. All right, number lines. Number lines can be a couple of different things. Maybe I see one starting at a point and going off with an arrow. Sometimes they have arrows on both sides. If I have really little kids, it probably starts at a point because it doesn't go left into the negatives yet. So I'm going to start this one at a point and go right with an arrow. And I'm going to assume that this is 0 that I start at. And my numbers are still going to be 6 and 3 with this neat notebook. Oh, let's write that at the top. I always like to write that down so the kids get used to what they're doing. Neat notebook. This is as an activity. All right, and so now I'm going to get green out because green was my 6. And I'm going to hop 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I hopped to the number 6, and then I'm going to switch to red because I have 3 more that I'm going to hop. 1, 2, 3. I hopped 3 more, and I landed on the 9. And I might even get out my jelly beans and place them on my number line, and that would be a really fun thing to do. In terms of I could play around with this with my jelly beans or my M&Ms, and I might even try and find 3 red M&Ms and 6 green ones, and try and play with them that way. All right, so that would be my number line. And then in terms of place value, I might pick a bigger number for that. So let's go ahead and look at 309. And what are these place values? So this would be my ones place. The 0 is in my tens place, and the 3 is in my hundreds place. And then I might tell my kids, I wonder, because one of the things you can do with a neat notebook, because textbooks are very black and white, they're very solid. Like you can't really imagine with them, right? But what I want neat notebooks to be is that thing that you can use to use your imagination and make your assignment whatever you want it to be. So in this case, I want to make it an I wonder. So let's make it an I wonder statement. I wonder how big place values get. And then who would I ask? So maybe I would say, hey, Google, and I might ask, and that would be good. So maybe I might say, hey, let's go figure this out. There's some really good children's, juvenile children's picture books on this, the big number books. Those are fun to get. And I might even get on the local library online and look up some great books on this and order them for the next week. And then maybe I would do some neat notebooking the next week on really big numbers. That might be a really fun neat notebook. Just 4 quadrants and try and think about how you can compare and contrast really big numbers. That would be interesting. But anyways, maybe think how big could it be? And then try and get your kids to talk about that. And I think one of my kids one time looked it up and they found out from Google that Google was in the name of the biggest place value. And I thought, oh, isn't that convenient? So I challenge you all to go out and let's find out what is the biggest place value. And if you find out from Google that their name is in it, find another source and make sure that it's not the same from a different source, or it is the same. Maybe it is. Maybe that's why they named their company Google. That could be why they did that. But I'm just curious. Okay, now let's talk about this. If I have 309 plus 1, what do I get? This is what I might tell my kids next. And then what if I have 309 plus a 10? What do I get? And then if I have 309 plus a 100, what do I get? And I would ask my kids, and we would figure this out. And they would say, I'm going to switch colors. And they would say, oh, Miss Jen, it is 310 when I add 1 to 309. And when I add 10, I get 319. And when I add 100, I get 409. And so what they're doing is adding 1 to each place value. And that's a fun activity to do as well. All right. And that is some algorithms. And this is really low level addition. The next neat notebook that we're going to do is higher level, but it's still, this one's probably first grade, I'm imagining, maybe second grade when you get to the place value. But multiplication, when we get to that one, we do the different algorithms for multiplication. We'll be sitting more around third grade. Whereas the basic NEAT notebook that we did first was probably more like fourth grade, after you sift through these basic NEAT notebooks of addition and multiplication. So we'll be getting to some more higher level things after we get through these basic algorithms. So I hope you enjoyed this today and had some good conversations with your kids. And there really is no right or wrong way to do these. Ask your kids questions, change the numbers around, learn new words. These aren't the only vocabulary words that you can use. You can ask all sorts of vocabulary words. One time I researched who discovered or created the number lines, and somewhere around 12 to 1400, I think it was, somebody was discovered and created the usage of the number line. So you could do research on that. And that could be a really interesting piece you could add into this and put a picture. Maybe you're doing this on the computer. You could add a picture of him in and say when he brought that in. That would be a lot of fun. The research that you did on the place values, that could be a lot of fun to add into this. Sum strips, there's so much you could do with sum strips. You could add pictures and things in for that as well. And like I said, you could play with manipulatives for that one endlessly with that one, and have snacks, do that one with lunch, and just have a good time. So I hope this is really fun and that you enjoy it. And again, my name is Jen with Log Cabin Schoolhouse. Hope you enjoy NEAT Notebook. Thanks. Bye.